Coming up on the bench, the West Coast came calling for the Cuse. Adrian Autry and his guys talked about not quitting on the season ahead of games at Stanford and Cal. Could the Orange keep their season somewhat afloat? We got highlights from the Silicon Valley in just a few.
Well, Austin, it's been the West Coast for the men's, but it's been the calendar in 2025 for Syracuse women's basketball. Just 2 wins since the calendar turned. The Cuse had another tough task against Virginia in the Dome on Sunday. Plus, one of our women's basketball beat reporters, Adam Hipsky's in studio to break down the Orange coming up.
Can't wait to talk to that guy. Meanwhile, Lax is so back. The men's team got underway over the weekend against a squad coached by a Syracuse legend. We've got highlights of a fun one in the Dome, and speaking of which, the Dome will host 2 lacrosse games this Friday. The women's squad begins its season then. We got our 3 beat reporters ready to preview an intriguing season for Kayla Trainer.
The lacrosse teams might be the best teams on campus, but Syracuse ice hockey and Syracuse tennis dominated its opponents over the weekend. We have the highlights, plus a recap from Ben Chadwick and Drew Albaugh recapping it all on the bench, which starts right now.
What's going on, folks? Welcome to the CitrusTV studios. Austin Barach, Jordan Leonard. Jordan, we got so many sports. It's the heart of crossover season. People are working their tails off, but the heart of it all, Jordan, the Duke game is tomorrow. That's exciting.
It is. I know you're very excited. Syracuse this year might not be as competitive as in years past, but hopefully it's a fun one inside the Dome. You think it's going to get over 20,000?
I hope so. People are camping out right now. We'll talk to Sam Reese about that in just a moment. But for right now, we start with the headlines of the week. We begin with SU football news. That's right, former Cal linebacker David Reese announced on Monday night that he's transferring to Syracuse. Reese is eligible for, get this, his 8th year of college. He redshirted in 2018 at Florida, got the COVID year, and also has 2 medical redshirt years. The journeyman helps fill the voids left by Marlo Wax, Justin Barron, and Fidel Diggs. Reese, an edge rusher primarily, produced 22 tackles and 4.5 sacks this past season for the Golden Bears.
It's a great pickup for Syracuse football, Austin. We saw him play out in California earlier this year. Earlier today, though, Syracuse men's lacrosse midfielder Michael Leo won ACC Offensive Player of the Week. Leo recorded 4 goals and totaled 5 points against Jacksonville on Saturday. All 4 goals, by the way, came in the first half against the Dolphins, and 3 of them within a 2-minute span. The junior is coming off a 28-goal season, which 5 scores happened in the final 2 games. Austin, I pointed it out last year, Michael Leo coming out party this season.
I like that, Jordan. I like that a whole lot. He'll be featured a lot more on this show. Well, yesterday, speaking of lacrosse, 2 women's Lax stars earned preseason All-American honors. Grad student Emma Ward and senior Olivia Adamson made the Nike Lacrosse preseason All-American team. Ward, who is now a grad student, the years go by, led the Orange in assists last year at 37. Adamson, now a senior, is coming off her best year as well with 58 goals and 23 assists, over 80 points for her.
Austin, you mentioned it in the open, heading out to the West Coast for Syracuse men's basketball's first trip out to Stanford in program history. The time changes really don't help you when you go out to the West Coast, and I can say that for a fact. Syracuse had trouble adjusting to the jet lag. Let's check out how Syracuse started this one out in Palo Alto, and the answer was very slow. They traveled out on Monday to try to get used to the time zone difference. Well, that did not work. Stanford came out on fire. We'll start with Maxime Renaud. 3-point ball from dead straight away. That made it a 12-0 run to start the game. Renaud had 8 of the first 12 points for Stanford. Then how about a Jalen Blake's steal and a fast break layup? 16-0 Stanford at that point. They got 17-0 to start the game. Syracuse couldn't shoot very well, and Stanford was on fire. You see those 4 turnovers, there as well. Renaud, an assist right there, 25-2, Stanford on top. That's just horrendous out there in Palo Alto. Lucas Taylor does get Syracuse on the board there. They start coming back. That was their first 3-pointer of the game. That was a 12-1 run, and then Jaquan Carlos in transition to J.J. Starling. They trimmed the deficit to 9 at the half, so we got a game still going. It was a late tip on the West Coast, 11 p.m., but then Stanford came out to play in the second half as well. Jalen Blake's a 3-point bucket right there. He had 14 points, 9 of which came in the second half. But how about Maxime Renaud? What a game. 3 steals, a season high, but 21 points and 15 boards.
Unfair.
Do your work down low. Here's actually a good highlight for Eddie Lampkin, going right through him, gets the basket to go. Syracuse put up a fight, but it was too much. This matchup between Maxime Renaud and Eddie Lampkin, it did not go well for Eddie Lampkin. He shoots the 3, then he gets that floater in there. It was too easy. Stanford gets the win on the West Coast, 70-61, and this has really been a struggle for Syracuse all season long, Austin. Going away from home, the Orange have been horrible.
Right, that one win came at Boston College. They were trailing with under 10 minutes to go, so credit to them for flipping it around. But look, they've been bad all year, and especially when they don't have the Dome crowd behind them, things get out of hand. They really go on these droughts where they just let the other team score. They cannot combat. They can't really shoot the ball well either. And if JJ's not on, only had 7 points in that one at Stanford, where else is the scoring going to come from?
It's been those slow starts that have really plagued them all season long, especially against Stanford.
So the Orange went from sunshine and losing in Palo Alto to then rainy Berkeley. They also celebrated Naheem McLeod's birthday last Friday, a day before the Cal game. The 7'4" center had appeared in just 6 games at that point. But could his birthday foreshadow better things for him and the team? Let's go out to Bear Country to find out how this one played out. Now, it should be noted, no Andre Stojakovic for the Golden Bears in this one, out with a hip injury. You see him right there, nearly 20 points per game, top 3 in the AACC. So Syracuse playing a shorthanded Cal team, and Elijah Moore gets the party started early with a 3-pointer. 9-0 for the Cuse. Hey now, that's weird. Also this, Naheem McLeod with the left hand. Look at that, season highs across the board. He had 15 DNPs this season before he came out on that one. Chris Bell, as always, mixing it up with a defender after a made 3. Then they swing around the rock. Lucas Taylor connects. A 17-point lead for Syracuse, their largest of the season. Look at the Bear. I don't know what he's doing, but just a weird look.
What a turnaround,
for
Austin.
Mr. Bear. Second half action now. Cal, where does their offense come from? Well, Syracuse is still swinging it really nicely. Lucas Taylor, 19 points for him, most since March of last year when he was with Georgia State, had a 20-burger in the conference tournament that one. And then get up! Jeremiah Wilkinson, get out of the way.
Hey, yeah.
He was kind of the guy to fill the void for Stojakovic. Then he says, may I have this dance? And cashes it in against Chapa Moore. So the Bears are still kind of fighting, but just like the Stanford game, Syracuse just was the better team, not Cal. And one from Carlos there. He was a spark plug. And just for finishing touches, Lucas Taylor, right wing, you bet. Syracuse wins at 75-66. For more on this match, we go to the hometown kid, Sam Corcoran.
It's been a pretty wacky season seeing Cal play in the ACC. So when Syracuse came to Bear territory, things got kind of wacky for Syracuse. Naheem McLeod getting almost 10 minutes, guards getting rebounds, and the return of the 2-3 zone. This team really came together and then all in all put together a 75-66 victory over the Golden Bears. And after the game, head coach Adrian Autry said he's proud of the way his locker room has come together and brought this team closer.
This is a close-knit group. You know, they all get along, they all pull for each other.
There's your Nike.
And, you know, I just think it says a lot about their character, right? They came out, they played hard. You know, they're not quitting. You know, I won't. Quitting is not in our.
At this point right now in the season, we're still locked in on the same goal that we had at the beginning of the season. We're trying to win as many games as possible, and just keep going with that.
With the California trip now wrapped up, SU heads back to the 3-1-5, boosting its resume a little more. First, it's the second road win of the season for the Orange. It's also the 4th time the Golden Bears have lost at home this season. And the most impressive one, it's the 2nd time this year that an ACC team on the East Coast has won on the West Coast. So overcoming those obstacles, pretty impressive for the Orange, but a lot more to overcome on Wednesday when number 2 Duke visits the Dome. Tip-off for that one set for 7 p.m. But until then, reporting from Bear Territory, Sam Corcoran, CitrusTV.
After a huge split on the West Coast, like Sam mentioned, Syracuse taking on number 2 Duke tomorrow at 7 p.m. We got our reporter, Sam Reese, where some students are camping out. Sam, what are the vibes out there near the Dome?
Hey, Jordan, the vibes are getting better here as the night goes on at Myron Victory Court, recently opened Myron Victory Court. This is a cool place, by the way. I got to admit, first time being in here. I saw pictures, but finally got to step foot in here, and more people filing in for the annual Duke campout. In fact, there were some actual players that stopped by, the likes of Jair Davis and Eddie Lampkin stopped by to greet some of the fans earlier on in the day. We've got some tents behind me, as you see, and enough of me talking. Let's bring in some fans, because we want that fan perspective here ahead of the Syracuse-Duke game. Second-ranked Duke coming to the Dome tomorrow. I'm now joined by a trio of SU freshmen. I've got Jeffrey, Caden, and Kyle, here in the Myron Victory Court. And Jeffrey, I'll start with you. Just how excited are you, especially as a freshman, your first experience of this rivalry, as we got Otto joining us too. How excited has this experience been?
I'm so excited to experience my first Syracuse versus Duke basketball game.
Yep.
This is one of my first experiences seeing a basketball game in this capacity on campus. I'm so excited, and I can't wait. Go Orange.
There we go. Go Orange. You heard it right there. Caden, I'm curious, how early did you guys get here, and what's been your favorite part of the experience so far?
Honestly, even before the camp out here, we wanted to get here like 2 hours early. We were so ready for this. We wanted to get the best seats in the house because we have faith in Syracuse. We can get this game. We just got to get the spirit going, and we got to have a good game, and we want to be here to see it.
So a lot of confidence there, and I'm interested from your perspective, Kyle, how confident are you? You know, Cooper Flag and Duke, the second-ranked team in the country, coming to the Dome. How confident are you that Syracuse has any sort of chance to pull off this feat? Because clearly you guys are dedicated.
I mean, obviously it's scary. It's Duke. They're always good. Sure. Good rivalry. We beat North Carolina last year in a huge upset. We can make another upset. I believe in Eddie Lampkin.
There we go. He believes in the big fella Eddie Lampkin. These guys believe in Syracuse to get the job done. I need to be more of an optimist like you guys. Guys, thanks so much for the time. Enjoy the rest of the camp out here at Myron Victory Court. That's all from me. We're about 21 hours from tip-off, but the excitement already building. Let's go back to you guys in studio.
All right, Sam, the optimism from those freshmen is certainly adorable. Meanwhile, Syracuse women's basketball, their season is not going so well. We got highlights from the Virginia game, and we're talking to Adam Hipsky to figure out what's been a struggle fest all day season for Felicia Leggett Jack squad.
You quit smoking and thought, that's that. But here's the thing about lung cancer. By the time you see the symptoms, it could be too late. But now, there's a new scan that can detect lung cancer early, when it's more curable. If you smoked, get scanned. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Welcome back into On the Bench, everyone. He's Austin Barach. I'm Jordan Leonard. We just talked a lot about men's basketball, Austin, but the women's team not doing too hot since the calendar turned to 2025.
Right. They had that 41-point loss to BC. They beat Clemson, but they returned to the Dome after a week off, and, well, things were kind of different.
Yeah, they were. Syracuse came back to the Dome, and really, since the turn of the since the turn to the calendar 2025, Syracuse is just 2-6 in the month of January. But the Orange had a week to rest up, and this weekend started a new month. So how did the Cuse start off February? SU took a 500 Virginia team inside the Dome. Let's check out the highlights from this past Sunday. It was also the Play for K game. Great uniforms from Syracuse, the all pink looking stylish inside the Dome. It was Virginia, who got off to the hot start, 7-3 in the early going because of Paris Clark. Scored 5 of the first 7 points for UVA, but Syracuse wasn't done. We got a great layup in transition from Georgia Woolley. That's an assist. Dom Camp, 7 assists, by the way, on the day. True point guard for Syracuse. How about the three there from Virginia? Takes a 3-point lead, and then it's more UVA highlights. 17 assists on 29 made baskets. They shared the ball throughout the entirety of this game. Kyra Wood gets on the board right there to make it a 37-36 score at the half. We zoom forward to the third quarter, and it was really the Sophie Burrows show on the Syracuse side. 22 points, a career high, 4 of 8 from three-point land. And Kyra Wood, how about that? 18 points, 15 rebounds, absolute domination in back-to-back double-doubles. We go to the fourth quarter. Kymora Johnson, 17 points, 8 assists, 6 rebounds. She did it all. You just saw her score right there. And then Latasha Lattimore, 10 of her 26 points in the fourth quarter. How about a 3 to give Virginia the lead, 62-60. Syracuse wasn't done. Verajao gets the and one bucket to cut it within 3, but she misses the free throw, and that's really all that mattered for Virginia the rest of the way. The UVA outscores Syracuse 18-9 and gets in the fourth quarter and gets a 3-point victory. And let's look at Sophie Burrows, Austin. Yeah. She's been playing very good, but only in losses for Syracuse. It's actually astronomical when you look at that graphic. 2 points and 7 points. The only single-digit point games come in wins.
It's remarkably weird. I have no explanation for it. It's one of those things where you hope you figured out with the coaching staff over the course of the season. I think if you have a superstar like you had last year at the Age of Fair, Burrows this year, she's had to step into a bigger role, a role that she's not necessarily comfortable in. So she does showcase her talent sometimes, but when she's on, it's not necessarily good for the entire team. Well, like we mentioned, it's been a tough season for Syracuse. A few weeks ago, Felicia Jack, as we got Adam Hipsky right here, one of our beat reporters, she called it a rebuild situation, Adam, the 41-point loss to BC. That's what did it right now. The Cuse, they're barely above the cut line to just make the AACC tournament. Remember, only 15 of the 18 teams make it there. So we got some questions that you need to answer for us because this season has been very strange. The first question I got for you, Adam, is why can't they close out in these fourth quarters?
Well, yeah, that's been really the storyline throughout ACC play for Syracuse. They were leading for over 3/4 of the game against NC State and then fell behind. And then Clemson, they made that comeback. And really the difference was the initiator of the offense. That was Olivia Schmidt. She didn't play the first 3 quarters. She played all 10 in the fourth quarter, and the Orange outscored the Tigers 25-8 in that final period. She's just a freshman, but then you look at yesterday or a couple days ago against Virginia, the freshman only played 1 minute against the Cavaliers. That was the difference, it really felt like. Nobody initiating the offense for SU.
The lineups have been very weird this season. It's like who's going to play, who's not going to play. Velez, she's been in and out, like Schmidt, like you just said. It's been very strange. Now, the Orange last year, they made the NCAA tournament. This year, it's like, will they even make the ACC tournament? They got games against Wake and Pittsburgh coming up, some teams below them right now. What are their chances to just make the ACC tournament?
Well, yeah, Austin, you mentioned it. The top 15 make the ACC tournament. No team in ACC history has finished below 14th with 4 wins. That's the threshold I'm looking at, Austin. Right now, the Orange sit at 2-8 in league play. The 2 wins that I see, Pitt and Wake Forest. 1 win in conference play so far. They've got both of those at home and then a couple of toss-up games at Stanford, at Virginia Tech. You split those. Now you're looking at 5 wins. BC to round out the regular season at home. It's a revenge game for the Orange. They were embarrassed in Chestnut Hill, the largest loss in the Felicia Leggett-Jack era. So that one, you come out with a little bit of your hair on fire mentality. I look at this Syracuse team finishing with 5-6 wins in ACC play. I think they'll be in.
That's an optimistic perspective from
We're all about optimism here.
Guy, typically. I don't know. Adam Hipsky telling us the laydown with Syracuse women's basketball. All right, coming up next, we got lacrosse. The men's team in action, the number 2 team in the country in the preseason. They took on Jacksonville. It was kind of lopsided. We also got women's lacrosse, our beat reporters, the trifecta, setting the table for what should be a unique season for the Orange. Stay tuned right here on the Bench.
Fancy pants peanut butter? A big screen television? You haven't even bought a sofa yet. A motorcycle? When your father finds out, he's gonna flip his shoes with 2 buckles? What do you even need 2 buckles for? Mr. Big Shot, buying whiskey shots for everybody in the bar. From the looks of it, I'd say nobody even remembers. Feed the pig.
Barach, Jordan Leonard, it's time to go from the court to the field. Jordan, I know you are a lax guy at heart.
I was about to say a big hell yeah, it's time to go to the field. Syracuse men's lacrosse is here, baby.
That's right, they are. They can be really, really good. Again, number 2 on the Inside Lacrosse preseason poll. So much continuity from last year's run to the quarterfinals, that loss to Denver on Saturday. This past Saturday, Gary Gates' team hosted Jacksonville in front of over 5,000 fans, the best home opener crowd since 2012. Let's see how things played out against the Dolphins. New face-off guy starting this year. That's Johnny Mullen, now a sophomore. And hey, welcome back, Luke Roa. This guy, from his knees, an unassisted goal to get things going 1-0. This was a guy who didn't score a whole lot last year. It was pretty good 2 years ago, but he's back. Owen Hiltz makes it a 6-0 game. 5 different goal scorers in the first 5 goals for Syracuse. Michael Leo, second quarter, low. Too easy, too fast. One of his 4 scores on the day. Leo again, the dodge, the roll, and the finish.
He's got everything.
10-0 start for the Cuse. That reminded me of 2022 when they were up 10-0 against Holy Cross. Won that game 28-5. Jacksonville would score back-to-back goals to make it 11-2 at the halftime break, but this game was never really in question. Don't turn it over against the Orange. Joey Spallina gets it to go. Assisted from Owen Hiltz. When you turn it over against these guys, they will make you pay. Then Jackson skipped to my Lou Birtwistle. Hammers at home. Birtwistle, just 1 goal over the last 6 games to finish out 2024. He's emerging. Sammy English, what a guy. A guy who stuck with the program here. His buddy Jake Stevens out the door from Princeton, but English back. Jacksonville, they did what they could do, which wasn't a whole lot. But this was an all-around good effort for Syracuse. 24-5 to open up 2025. And Jordan, you see here, 3 different players recorded a hat trick: Leo, Spallina, and Roa. The talent on this team is pretty remarkable.
2 of those pretty much expected from Michael Leo and Joey Spallina, at least in my opinion. How about Luke Roa, though? He could be one of those underrated scorers for Syracuse this season, and that's really what you want to see, though, from Joey Spallina. 3 goals, 2 assists, the 5 points, both scoring and assisting. Great to see out of Joey Spallina. But Austin, Jacksonville's head coach, he's a 3-1-5 legend. Our Dan Shalom dove deeper into that.
In Syracuse men's lacrosse's 24-5 win over Jacksonville this past Saturday, SU legend John Galloway returned back to the Dome. But on the other side of the sidelines, Galloway, now the head coach of the Dolphins, won 2 national championships with Syracuse in 2008 and 2009 as a goaltender. And while things might not have gone his squad's way last weekend, still being back here in the 3-1-5 meant the world to him.
It was a quick trip. We landed at 3 o'clock yesterday, practice, dinner, and here this morning. But, Mom and Dad were a warm welcome at the hotel last night, and had some family here, had some high school coaches come and watch practice yesterday. But also really meaningful for me now that I can reflect on it, on just how special this place is.
In his time at Syracuse, Galloway was a first-team All-American twice. Along with that, the Salt City native sits as SU's all-time leader in wins and minutes played by a goalie. Given Galloway's rich history in Orange, head coach Gary Gate was excited to have the netminder back to open the season.
Coach Galloway's a very nice young man, and I enjoyed watching him play when he was here and talking with him here and there and getting to know him a little bit. But we're excited to have him back. I'd asked if they wanted to come play maybe a year or 2 before, and he kind of reached out and said this year I think we'd like to come up.
Despite the blowout loss Saturday, Galloway has completely transformed Jacksonville. The West Genesee native earned the Dolphins their first national ranking in 2022, has notably led Jacksonville to 3 straight double-digit win seasons, and won the program's first ever ASUN regular season championship last year. For Galloway, all of this success stems back to one place.
Early on in my career, I learned, hey, top 10 is not good enough. Winning occasionally is not good enough. The bar is so high there that I think it shifts how you approach your business. And from an early time in Syracuse, I learned winning was the only option. Anything below a national championship, you did not meet the expectations of the organization. So we've brought a lot of that dreaming and vision down here. Now, again, there's a long road in between what Syracuse has built and what we're building. But you have to start somewhere. And I think we've taken some small steps, and it's about us continuing that journey and putting proof of concept on paper and on the field.
Dan Schau, Citrus TV.
Good stuff there, Dan. Syracuse has not won a title since the 2009 season with Galloway. They beat Cornell in an epic thriller there. Jordan, though, speaking of a team that's trying to also ascend to the mountaintop, Syracuse women's lacrosse. They reach the Final Four pretty much every year, but never get over the hump. So our beat reporters, Jake Klein, Sydney Chan, and Milo Hoffman, what do you guys have for what this season holds in store for the 2025 Orange?
Cool. It is a new-look Syracuse women's lacrosse team in 2025. A whole lot of key players last season, they left this past offseason. So we'll see how the new roster shapes up heading into the new campaign. We'll go position by position, starting with goalkeeper. Wow, I caught that one pretty nicely. Delaney Schweitzer, she does that a lot. She's out. She went to Northwestern this past offseason. Former ACC Goalkeeper of the Year, former Tewaaraton Award nominee, left for Northwestern. She comes to the Dome later this season, so we'll see how she fares against her former Orange squad. For the Orange, though, it'll be Daniela Guyette, junior, who tore her ACL in her freshman season. Saw limited action last year, giving up nearly 8 goals a contest. So quite the struggle for Guyette in her first action with the Keys. But with all the bright lights on her, we'll see how she fares for the Orange this season. Now, a couple steps up, we'll go to the defense, another position that looks very, very different. Bianca Chevry and Katie Goodell, two anchors at the back last season. They left this past offseason as well, accounted for nearly 25% of SU's ground balls. Instead, it'll be Casey Benoit and Coco Vanderveer, two returners from last year who will take on the grunt of the work at the back line and hopefully protect their new netminder in Daniela Goyette very, very nicely. Now, enough about this back line. Let's talk about some midfielders.
Now it's time for some midfield departures, starting with Kate Mashesky. She was the team's draw control specialist and one of the best ever. She was the second player in program history to record more than 300 draw control wins. To compensate for this loss, head coach Kayla Traynor has brought in Princeton transfer Sam DeVito. The team was 5th best in the nation in draw control wins last season, so DeVito certainly has some big boots to fill. Now, all their key departures include Natalie Smith and Maddie Baxter, whose chemistry was key, as well as Savannah Schweitzer, who was 7th on the team in points. We've also got some returners as well, including Emma Muchnick, who played all 22 games her sophomore season, recorded 14 goals and 13 assists, and sophomore Jolie Caramelli, the top scoring freshman on the team, 11 goals and 3 assists, as well as Alexa Vogelman, who will suit up in the orange for the first time. She missed last season with an ACL injury, but was ranked by Inside Lacrosse as the 5th best freshman in the nation in 2023. And speaking of which, we've also acquired some key generational talent this time around in Molly Guzik and Melina Cotter, who are ranked 14th and 29th freshmen in the country this season. And now, let's see if we can finish this one off.
We sure can. But you know who won't be finishing goals for Syracuse in 2025? Emma Tyrell, SU's leading point getter from a season ago, who scored more than 1 out of every 5 Syracuse goals, has gone to the pros. In her wake, she leaves behind the All-American duo of Emma Ward and Olivia Adamson, who combined scored more than 160 points for Syracuse last year. But behind them, a lot is unproven. Will Gracie Britton step up? Will it be Peyton Rowley in her senior season? Or even Ashley Volpe, a former top 25 recruit who missed all of her freshman season with injury? Well, I guess we'll find out when Syracuse plays its season opener Friday against UAlbany, with opening draw set for 1:30. For now, we'll go from the snow to the ice and then to the courts for some Syracuse ice hockey and tennis on the bench.
love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the-right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Welcome back into On the Bench, everyone. Jordan Leonard with Austin Barach. Austin, we saw our women's lacrosse beat reporters fighting the elements out there for the lacrosse team. You know what's even colder, though? The weather has been absolutely atrocious this week.
It's a blizzard. It's like
Snow.
I saw multiple trucks on my street today. They almost crashed. It was crazy.
Were they actually plowing your street at all?
A little bit. It's a little bit better than it was in the previous days.
Either way, you know what's more cold than snow? Ice. Syracuse women's ice hockey had 2 games this weekend against Lindenwood. They've struggled throughout the season, just 8 wins on the year. They had a momentum-changing win, though, against RIT last week. Let's see what the Syracuse could do starting in Game 1 of 2 against Lindenwood on Friday at the Kennedy Ice Pavilion. And they got the job done. 5-2. Granted, Lindenwood, not the biggest world beater in the country, but it was 2 power play goals that really got the job done for Syracuse women's ice hockey. One goal game entering the 3rd period. They scored 2 unanswered. You see Jackson Kinsler, 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points. She really had a great game after struggling for the previous 5 to 6 games, and she had a great weekend, Austin, overall.
That's right. Syracuse, they go from Friday to Saturday, senior day, and it's a senior sweep, 5-0. It's the a 1 p.m. start. Syracuse went up 1-0 in the first 5 minutes of this one. Was never really close. Allie Kelly, her 3rd shutout of the season. The Lions were bad, right? But this was an all-around great game for the Orange. 5 different goal scorers for the Cuse. 4 different players had multiple points. And after the game, Ben Shadwick had a lot to discuss given the success of the team.
Emotions certainly ran high here on senior day in the Kennedy Ice Pavilion. But you know what they say? The best remedy for tears is a dominating 5-0 win for Syracuse ice hockey over Lindenwood. Cuse head coach Brittany Smith said that she always had faith in her squad, but that it certainly helped to have family and friends in the stands cheering them on.
Yeah, we talked about that before the game. Hopefully we don't need that type of motivation, but that is a sense of motivation for us in terms of playing hard for seniors who have their loved ones in the stands who have supported them through their career. And it is an emotional weekend for them, whether we have games left or not. It could be, like you said, one of the last times that we're playing at Kennedy.
Now, although today was all about the seniors, ironically, it was the underclassmen that led the charge. 4 of SU's 5 goals were scored by sophomores or younger. Specifically, freshman Stella Costabile totaled up 4 points over the weekend series, which is half of her season total. Orange goalie Allie Kelly says she's immensely proud of how the youngins stepped up.
Yeah, they battled hard for us. You can tell that they really care about us on and off the ice. They made this day pretty special for us. And they played really hard in front of me and helped me get that shutout.
Obviously, balanced point production is something that I think any coach would be pretty happy with, but to see it from some of our younger players, especially, sticking to the senior weekend theme, I think it goes to show the leadership they have and kind of the standard that's been set.
Although today was senior day, Syracuse made sure it wasn't the last home game of the season. With the win, SU officially clinched a home playoff game when the AHA postseason rolls around. But there's still a couple of weeks left to go in the regular season. Next up on SU's agenda is a trip down to Robert Morris with game number 1 on Friday at 7 p.m. Reporting from Kennedy Ice Pavilion, Ben Shadwick, CitrusTV.
All right, Ben. So women's ice hockey, their season is in its home stretch, but Cuse tennis is just getting started. The Orange entered the weekend 3-0 with dominating wins against Cornell, JMU, and Fordham. Syracuse, though, had a week off from its last match, so would there be some kind of rust against Drexel? Let's check out the action from Drumlin's here, Jordan. Both doubles and singles action, of course, against the Dragons. Doubles action, the Cuse swept 6-0, 6-1, and 6-0. They won 18 of the 19 total games.
Yeah, you just could tell with the chemistry of these doubles teams. Like you said, they won every single set, 6-0, 6-0, 6-1. That's just great chemistry. Look, the quick hitting, you got to be on the same page, just like we are, Austin.
That's right. The number 2 doubles team, that's the team that lost 1 game. Constanley Vivier Vivier, what a name. They're still trying to work on that chemistry. They're still trying to adjust to each other's styles. But there's a lot to like with this tennis team right now.
Well, and you look at the singles, they won 5 of the 6 single points, and they only went to 3 sets in one of those wins. Syracuse tennis really dominating against Drexel. I've played at the Drumlins Tennis Center.
Yeah.
I've seen them practice. They hit some rockets.
You and Andrew, yeah, you guys are down there all the time. Nelly Nezkova, #1 singles player, the #1 doubles player for Syracuse. She is really cruising so far early on.
Syracuse still undefeated on the season. Up next, though, on the bench, we got our performers and plays of the week.
Says pre-diabetes. That means it could be you, your favorite brother, your other brother, you, your football buddy, your football buddy, you, your plumber,
Breathe right into your foot.
your plumber's masseuse,
Yes.
you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. With early diagnosis, pre-diabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Did you hear about the pony with a sore throat? He was a little horse. Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding. Why couldn't the Why was the basketball court all wet? Why? Because the players kept dribbling all over it. Where do cats go on vacation? New York.
Wrapping up shop here on the bench, Austin Barach, Jordan Leonard. Before we hit performers and plays of the week, Jordan, I got to say, we both play intramural basketball. Your team is 2-0, right? Would you say you're one of the top performers on your rec team?
I am, Austin. I'm a top 3 scorer. I have assists. I started count. They don't count the assists in intramural basketball. I started counting them.
You count them in your own game?
I was dicing that zone up last week, Austin. Just know, I'm a point guard.
All right, we're now 1-1 over here in the intermediate division, but
1-1, that's 1 loss, more than us.
Well, you can learn a lot more from losses than wins. Speaking of loss and wins, Syracuse men's basketball and J.J. Starling, he's learned a lot. All he cares about is winning. He begins our performer of the week, the 5th best performer of the week. Again, kind of struggled at Stanford, just 7 points, no assist to your point there, Jordan, but he rebounded with 18 and 4 at Cal. More importantly, he hit 1,000 career points in this game. Remember, his freshman year, he played at Notre Dame, transferred to Syracuse. He did not shoot the ball very well in this trip. That's why he's kind of only at number 5. Shot the ball at just above a 25% clip in the 2 games on the West Coast. But those averages, they aren't too bad. If he'd probably say those can be better, but it's a solid number 5 performance of the week.
J.J. Starling, king of the court on the basketball court. Queen of the tennis court, though, Shiori Ito, straight sets win in singles. She's undefeated on the season, won 6-0 in doubles. And like I said, Austin, I played at Drumlins. She was practicing on the court next to me, making me look like a fool. She can hit absolute rockets to anywhere on the court. Definitely the best tennis player on the team so far this season, and we've seen it so far in the early going.
The forehand smash, that's lethal stuff right there out of Ito. Now going to number 3, let's go to the lax field. Joey Spolina. I just like it Spolina. It's fun for
That's
me.
Fair.
Right?
That's fair.
In the opener here against Jacksonville, he put up a nice performance, right? 5 points with the 3 goals, the 2 assists, this one on the break, beats the goaltender. His 15th career hat trick. He's improved and let the game come to him. Remember 2 years ago when he was just a freshman, just 1 goal and like 15 shot attempts against Vermont. Better last year in the opener, was stifling some of the bigger games, but letting the game come to him a little bit more. The number 3 performer of the week, Joey Spolina.
Well, you know, Austin, someone who had a better weekend just because there was 2 games. How about Jackson Kinsler of the Syracuse women's ice hockey team? That's performer number 2 of the week. She's the AHA forward of the week. 3 goals, 3 assists in 2 games over the weekend. She hadn't registered a point in 4 games before this weekend. only 2 points in the last 8, and she absolutely went off on senior weekend to get Syracuse 2 straight victories.
Kinsler doing it all, one of the heralded players on the squad right there. It's always great to send the seniors home with a good taste in their mouth, potentially one of the final times playing at Kennedy Ice Pavilion. But a guy, yes, I just spoiled it, a guy who claimed the top spot for Performers of the Week back on the lacrosse field, it's Michael Leo. This guy, you know, I talked about spoiling, letting the game come to him. Leo is just a big moment waiting to happen. He's a lefty from Long Island, always wearing the Yankees hat. I mean, they've had some big moments in their history, right? 4 goals, 1 assist, his 5th career hat trick, the ACC Player of the Week, like Jordan, you talked about earlier in the show. Michael Leo, there's nothing he can't do when he's dodging well.
That Yankees hat might be the only thing I don't like about Michael Leo, but he's going to have a breakout season. I said it earlier in the show, probably the best pure scorer on the Syracuse men's lacrosse team so far this season. And Austin, my favorite time of the week is right now.
Yes.
It's the best time. Top plays time here on the bench, and we start with number 5. We go to the basketball court. Syracuse women's basketball, even with the loss, put on some highlights. How about Dominique Kemp in transition over the shoulder to Kyra Wood? That's like a preview of me to you in the Media Cup this Saturday, Austin. Me running the point, dribbling up, lobbing it over that right shoulder, and an easy layup in transition. Kyra Wood had a great game as well.
Yeah, hopefully I'm yamming that, but nice lay nonetheless from Kyra Wood. Over to number 4, Chris Bell. Off the feed from Majstorovic, he connects with the N1 from the left corner. You know, I don't know the exact stats, but I feel like Chris Bell, over half of his made threes this season have come from the left corner. He's always around that area, splashing it. Only 3 of his 6 points in that game, though.
How about play number 3? We go back to the lacrosse turf. Jackson Birtwistle, one of the players not necessarily talked about on that midfield line, falling down from right to left, low to low. How about that? Jackson Birtwistle feels like he's been here forever, been a key contributor on a lot of teams. He could come out this season, and that goal, kind of a theatric right there.
Yeah, stares him down a little too. He's feeling himself. He knows that he is really good at lacrosse. To number 2, the Hofstra transfer, Jaquan Carlos with the head of steam. Oh, you're bigger than me. I don't care. The gather step, the lay, the muscle. He was a spark plug off the bench for Adrian Autry. Talk about how much of a true point guard he is. Look at this. He sizes him up, little offhand, and gets it to go. Nice lay through the contact.
Taking the contact, like you said, Austin, that's where we go to play number 1. A lot of contact on this play, but Luke Roa did not care. And by the way, this is what makes On the Bench better than SportsCenter. This is our top play. It wasn't on SportsCenter. Luke Roa falling down with his offhand. Holy cow! How do you even shoot that? You go low to low. He dodges right back to the left. And I mean, you just can't script that. That's just pure talent out of Luke Roa.
Ridiculousness out of Luke Roa right there. You know what else might be ridiculousness, Jordan?
What?
You're going to guess it. Cooper Flagg in the Dome tomorrow night. The number 1 overall player in the recruiting class, the projected number 1 overall pick. He's averaging 20 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists per game. He might be lighting up the Dome. And that freshman earlier who said, I believe in Eddie Lampkin, well, Cooper Flagg might have different thoughts.
I know you love Cooper Flagg, but what about Malik Brown coming back to the Dome? It was in doubt with an injury at some point, but he's back. He played last week. Malik Brown returning to the Dome. I wonder what reception he might get.
That's right. Hopefully some applause, a sprained knee, but he was so good for Syracuse, all ACC defender last year. Well, for everybody involved, thank you so much. With Jordan Leonard, I'm Austin Barrett. We leave you with the images of the week.
In 2025, the expectations are higher than ever with a national championship in mind. And the road to Foxborough begins today against Jacksonville. Roa striding towards goal, tough shot, he slips it home. The first goal of 2025 belongs to Luke Roa. Hiltz, the wraparound right side, he scores. It's too easy for Owen Hiltz. Right alley, low shot, goal. Owen Hiltz has his second of the day. Syracuse is having fun with it. Loose ball on the turf. Rebound, score. Michael Leo again just picks up the ball out of a scrub of bodies. The Orange victorious in Game 1 of the 2025 season in dominant fashion.